Okay, we remember from our interviews with Solomon and Martha that they specified different priorities for the goals of our project. Solomon's first priority was for his reports to be available at the beginning of the first business day of each month. Martha's first priority, on the other hand, was to reduce the amount of time she spends on the reports so she can focus on her other work. Is this a problem? Perhaps. Stakeholder priorities are really important to our projects. If we don't pay attention to them, we can run into real trouble later. So let's get into our stakeholder needs analysis now. You'll hopefully remember that there are 4 questions involved in performing this type of analysis, and I'll put them on the screen. Okay, let's start with the first question. What does each stakeholder say they want? Well, we already stated this just a minute ago, but it's helpful to write it down. I'll just fill in the blanks here on the screen. Okay, I think this is pretty clear from our scenario. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 2 is, why do they want that? Solomon wants the reports ready as soon as his first day of the month starts because he does his job based on the information in the reports. He can't do anything until the info is ready. Why does Martha want what she wants? Well, the report generation takes a lot of time for her, and it's taking away from her other very important work. So let's add those to the table like this. Okay, moving on to the next one. The next question is, what is the priority of that need? Well, we know that both Solomon and Martha see their needs as being the most important to them, so that's something we'll add to the table. But we should also keep in mind on the big picture. What are the priorities for the company? If Solomon is unable to get any of his work done, that's a big problem to the organization. He's a relatively senior manager in charge of all beverage product development. If Martha is unable to get her work done, it's still a big problem, but not as much as Solomon's due to her lesser responsibilities as a product analyst. Now, let me just say a word here. Sometimes junior people have responsibilities that are more important than those of senior people. This is fairly common. My line of reasoning used for this question won't always work. You'll often have to dig deeper, looking at what the responsibilities are in detail and what their value to the organization is. So let's go ahead and enter this information into the table. Okay, and now let's move on to the last question, which is often the most challenging. It requires us to challenge at a minute level what the stakeholder has said and believes. Let's look at Solomon first. First, Solomon assumes that he needs reports. He envisions them to be the same in the future process that he gets from Martha today. This might be true, and it might not. Probably not, actually. Solomon also assumes that he needs all the information in the reports at the same time, but this probably isn't the case. He might only need part of it, and the parts he needs might be faster to generate than the rest. Challenging this assumption might be a good next step. If we can get Solomon working on the first day of the month with the information available then, we might have solved a big part of the problem. Now for Martha. Martha seems to assume that the process of the product managers sending her their PSRs and her compiling them into the larger PLSR will stay the same. This is a typical assumption, and it's probably not going to be the case. Beyond that, I don't really notice any major assumptions at this point. So let's go ahead and complete the table. And so we end up with this table. The table doesn't tell us what the solution will be, but it gives us valuable insight into what the true priority of the project really is, automating the delivery of key information to Solomon. This will accomplish the goals of both the stakeholders, and it gives them a common vision to work toward.